Okay. Well,
Cool. Good morning.
good morning, Laura. How you doing?
Great.
This is fun.
Perfect start of the day.
Yeah. Yeah. How long ago did you wake up?
What time is it right now? It's 20 minutes ago.
Perfect. All right. Well, welcome back to the Breaking Ice podcast. My name's Josh Ferguson, and I have the lovely opportunity today to sit down with Laura Jenner, a dear friend of mine. And I thought it would be really cool to sit down with you. I feel like you've lived a pretty unique life and had a unique journey, and I'd love to hear you talk about it and talk about your work up here and a bunch of stuff like that. We'll just see where the conversation takes us.
Cool.
All right, let's start at the beginning. Where were you born?
Oh boy. Back in 1998.
Whoa. Pre-2000.
Pre-2000. No, high level, Alberta, northern Alberta, for most that don't know that place.
And give me, shape your childhood for me. What was that like?
So I grew up with I have 5 older brothers, which usually when I tell people that kind of defines a lot about me. They're like, oh, everything makes sense now. But we grew up on a farm, family farm. We raised cattle, had commercial grain, and then above, obviously with farms, when you do have cattle, you also have your dogs, your chickens. Sometimes you had pigs. And I convinced my dad that I needed a horse when I was 11.
Smart.
Which was a very smart move. And my brothers were on board with that. But yeah, so always around animals, always outside, doing dumb stuff.
Yeah, perfect.
I think back now and I'm really glad that mom didn't know half the stuff we did. And she's probably glad that she doesn't know half the stuff we did.
Do you say 4 older brothers?
5.
5 older brothers?
Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, it was a wild time. That's for sure.
And what were your parents like?
Oh, how would you say it?
Well, I don't know.
I can't really
describe their
relay it.
personalities and kind of what the relationship was like and things like that.
Yeah. My dad was super around us kids anyways. I don't know if he's different when we weren't there, but he was super calm, collected, kind of like a stoic wise all the time. You just he was always able to teach us in a way that we understood things. And most of the time that was you just let us make mistakes. And then you'd come around when we needed help.
Natural consequences are some of the best teachers,
Yeah, that happened a lot. But after that happened, he would always come around and be like, okay, you ready to do it the way I told you at the first place? Because we always be we know better and try and do it our own way. And then, experience always knows best.
Yeah.
But no, just a super solid house that I grew up in. And my mom, my dad was extremely hard worker too. I've never met anyone who's worked harder than him. Even he's passed now, but even up until the day that he passed, he was in a grain field, right? So it was
that's hardcore.
It's and some of it was self-driven for him, but a lot of it was a sacrifice for our family.
Sure.
But my mom, she's just she was a nurse, an RN, so she's just always had the knack of taking care of people.
Yeah.
Our house we call it revolving door. So anybody and everyone was welcome. It didn't matter who you are, what you did, anything. You were welcome in our home. You were fed, you had a place to sleep. If all the beds were taken, later on, my parents would give up their bed so that they could, if someone needed a place, they would come sleep there and they would sleep on the futon downstairs. That sort of a thing. So super, super welcoming for everybody.
Service
friendly.
Leadership.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And just loved everybody. It was there wasn't a person who she didn't try and show love to or just be friends with. My mom was a huge supporter of me when I was younger, especially with the sports and stuff that I did. She was always there with me when I went on road trips for hockey and stuff. My dad never really got to come along with, just because he was always the one working.
The demands of the farm.
Yeah. But no, just Honestly, a extremely solid, loving, faithful home that I could not have asked for any better
Mm.
parents. And I think all of my brothers would agree the same.
And what
Yeah.
was the dynamic with all the siblings?
Yeah. It was wild.
What's the age spread to begin?
8 years
Okay.
from the oldest to me.
Okay,
the youngest.
so my brother and I are 8 years, but there's just two of us.
Yeah, so add 4 more in there. Yeah. So we're all like really close in age. I mean, me to my next brother, we're a year and 2 months.
Mhm.
And then between some of my other brothers, they're just under a year, right? So they were really like, we're gonna have kids now. But the dynamic would be just wild.
Like your childhood was spent almost exclusively outside, kind of thing.
Yeah, whenever we got too rambunctious in the house, and during winter too, this was not just excluded for summer, is we had to run laps around the house. If we were getting too wild, mom would kick us out and then go run laps. If we didn't listen to mom, my dad would come and kick us out and go run laps. And we had a packed trail, like a packed ice trail. And then we started like being like, we gotta get like, as a kid does, you want to try and be smarter than your parents don't. So then we're like,
Yeah, you want to trick them.
If we do it in bare feet, then we wouldn't have to run as many laps because they'd be concerned. So then we started just doing bare feet.
Did that work?
No, not at all. They're just like, okay.
Sure, run 6 laps in bare
feet.
Keep
going.
Yeah.
But
that's a hilarious way to outsmart your parents that backfired.
It's not outsmarting.
No,
it's just stupid. Like that idea just doesn't go. But yeah, and then like my brothers were always protective. They always joked around. They definitely treated me like a little brother. I was not the little princess girl. I was a tomboy growing up. And a lot of people would say I am now too. But like they always had my back with stuff, but they would always joke that they never needed it. Like they never needed to protect me because I would just protect myself.
You can hold your own.
Because they would tease me so much growing up.
Well, I was going to say,
like,
you probably did
so much that I had to protect myself.
It's not like you would encounter anything in like school that would have been harder to deal with than 5 older brothers.
No. Mm-mm. Yeah, there's one story of school that I don't remember. I keep getting my friend tells it to me because he was there, but I was just like, it sounds right.
Is it are you able to tell us the story?
Well, I see, because he tells me I don't want to embellish it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
So, but no, I definitely learned to protect myself with 5 brothers.
So you had sounds like a really awesome childhood, and then you also had a wealth of extracurriculars that you did. You did a lot of hockey and anything else. You had a horse and stuff like that. Did your brothers were they also tasked in the same way in terms of extracurriculars?
Yeah, we all, that was one thing that it's kind of funny. My dad signed us up for hockey to give us exercise.
Like everybody?
Everybody who's going through hockey.
Like you have a whole hockey team.
Oh yeah, we do. We have a full line. But none of us play goalie. So there's like one little thing, but we have a full line plus. Yeah. No, like he signed us up when we were little. Right. And like we are from a small, like the community that we grew up in is very small. It's only like I think 900 people in the town section. And then you got like the greater area where it has all the farmland and stuff where it increases to maybe like 1,200, 1,500, if that. But yeah, so he's like, our kids need exercise, so let's sign them up for hockey. And that was when we were really little. Like I started skating when I was like 4. And we always had an outdoor rink in our backyard. We always made it. So we were constantly on that too. And everybody, like my dad was coaching and we would just play. So
did your dad play hockey growing up too?
Just like on ponds and stuff, not competitively. Yeah. They never had the chance to back then.
Was he coaching hockey like in the league?
He coached our team, and we just practiced for most of the year, and then we had one big tournament we'd go to.
I would say even if he wasn't an incredible hockey player, there's so much more to coaching in terms of like group dynamics and personality and like leadership.
Yeah.
You wouldn't necessarily need to be a fantastic hockey player to make it a good experience for kids.
No. And like at that stage, you're really just teaching the fundamentals of how to skate and how to hold a stick. So it's very like, it wasn't an issue for him to do it. And to be honest, because of all the drills that he consistently made us just like repeat do, I think it made us better hockey players because it was always the fundamental stuff of like using edge work and using stick work and balance and that stuff. So it was but it wasn't like anything. There's
nothing fancy.
Nothing fancy. It was very like plain basic.
Dad, we've been doing this for 5 years. Yeah, do it again.
Exactly. But it was good. Like it definitely kept him busy, and he coached at 1 year. He coached 2 teams because they didn't have a coach, so he just stepped up and did that. And yeah, we just practiced like all year, and then go to one tournament, and that was our hockey season.
And it was epic.
It was, well, I mean, when you're like 10 and you're going on a big road trip to Hay River, further north to go play a hockey tournament, right? It's like the first competitive game you have all season. It's very exciting.
No kidding. Yeah. No kidding. That's awesome.
Yeah. So we did that. That took up our winters. And
the farm was also more low key in the winters.
Yes and no.
Okay.
Like we still had cattle, so you still had to, feed the cows every day and the other animals every day. But it wasn't like you're planting or seeding. It wasn't like you're harvesting, and it's like you have a month window to get everything in. So you got to do it now. Yeah. And everything else is put to the, wayside.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But yeah, so hockey in the winter and then in the summertime, summer was taken up by a lot more of the farm.
Yeah.
Like we did start working when we were younger. My dad paid us. Like it was all fair. It wasn't like we were slaves.
No.
And we helped out with the farm. We were driving equipment. We were, out running around, being the gopher, moving machinery, like any sort of stuff, putting in fences, taking out fences, moving cattle, everything along those lines. My brothers did more of the mechanical work of the shop too. When stuff broke, like they were in there helping fix. Mm-hmm. I never really did that. I was more in the garden with mom or playing with my friends. But we still had a childhood. We were not like
no, that makes sense.
We
but
still
also
had time to play, but
but even if you're spending time working and whatnot, that can be fun. Like
you know
what I mean. It's not like I feel like people sometimes put too much of an emphasis on separating work and play when they can so often be the same thing.
Yeah. Definitely. Yeah. And then like we also did almost every single school sport you could possibly do. So like hockey was the outside of school extracurricular.
Yeah.
And then we like brothers played volleyball. We never did basketball because that was the exact same season that hockey was, and we all liked hockey better.
Yeah. Well, it is better.
Yeah. And then and like badminton, track and field, cross country running. Like we all kind of went through the rigmarole of the school sports as well, and that was also in there. And then also in summertime I did horseback riding when I got my horse.
Nice.
Yeah.
And tell me about your horse. I didn't actually know you had a horse.
Yeah. He's gone now. He was I like to call them, he was an old fart.
Okay.
When I got him, he would have been around 20 years old, 21 years old, which is pretty old for a horse.
Yeah, sounds like it.
His name was Ted.
Okay.
He was a bay. He had a little star on his forehead. And he's an old cowboy's old horse.
Yeah, he's seen stuff.
He's seen stuff. Oh yeah. Yeah. He is
by the time he got to the farm, that was retirement,
Oh yeah, I was definitely retirement. He's like, all I gotta do is just chill in this pasture, and this little girl comes and like pets me and like takes me out on rides and tries to tell me what to do. Okay. This is retirement. This is easy. Yeah. He was funny though. I loved him. He
describe his personality.
He's like he's an old man that just kind of did what he wanted, but would still like kind of respect you. He only liked me, so he would only let me catch him in the pasture, like no one else could.
Like your parents or your brothers? Like,
no, they're gone. He's gone. He's running away.
What kind of power has little girl? That's awesome,
right? every time we went for a ride, he would walk as slow as he could away from home.
Mm-hmm.
And as soon as we turned around to come back home, he would run as fast as he could. So like there's a couple times he took off on me. I was just like hanging on for dear life. But we eventually got it down where it was like a fast walk.
Just couldn't wait to get home.
No, get this lady off me. But he was so solid. Like, my mom never had to worry about him bucking me off.
Yeah.
Or being scared and spooking and jumping around. Like, that was never a thing with Ted.
That's awesome.
He was always like super just mellow. The odd occasion he got a little excited, but it was nothing.
Once every 3 years or something like that.
Yeah. But I tried to, so I had him, and then I was part of a club.
Mm-hmm.
That was kind of our deal, was like, if I got a horse, I have to learn how to take care of it.
Yeah.
Pretty good deal.
Yeah.
And we had it's called Pony Club.
Okay.
Which I think originated in Europe, like the beginning of it.
Mm-hmm.
And then it like transitioned over to Canada. But anyways, it's just like a club where you have a teacher, they come and
they come to your
teach
home?
you. No, it's like a bunch of kids can come together, and you have the teachers that are volunteers, and they come and they teach you how to take care of your horse, how to like ride your horse, and you can go in different disciplines. Like they primarily were more for like English riders and jumping, dressage, that sort of a thing. But because our club was so small and our instructors were, they like the Western pleasure riding as well.
Yeah.
Like trailer riding, that sort of stuff. That's more what we did. But yeah, so then we did that as well. We learned how to take care of our horses and
that's awesome.
Do all sorts of stuff. And there was
and
like little.
Did you stable him at your house? So he like lived with you guys? Yeah.
Yeah. He was at the farm.
That's sweet.
Yeah. So we just like haul him to the arena whenever we had that happening.
Oh, okay. So everyone would come with their horses and like learn together and then go back and
you'd go like for 4 hours or something like that.
Yeah.
Take that out of your day. Yeah.
What do you think? Like, because how old were you when you got a horse? You said 11.
I was. Let's see. He was so. My brother bought him because I had no money. I didn't work at that time.
Sure.
So my brother bought him, and I was like super angry because I was like, I wanted to buy him. And but anyways, so he bought him in like June, July. My birthday's in September. He gave him to me for my 11th birthday.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And then what do you think like taking care of a being of that magnitude taught you as a young girl?
What? He was my first horse. I did get a second one.
Okay.
And I still have him. He's at the farm.
Okay.
He wasn't quite as relaxed as Ted was. He's a little bit more spunky. So he taught me a little bit more on the side of like, you have to stay calm around horses. And that, or a being is like, what you do can reflect into them. Like they can take your energy or whatever mood you're in. If you're angry, they can feel that when you're riding because you're all tense if you're mad. Yeah. They feel that and it will transfer into them and they're like, whoa, okay. Like, and they can start getting antsy and start getting agitated from that. Whereas if you're like calm and collected, then they also feel that and you sit more in the saddle and they're like, oh, okay, everything's fine. Because horses are like, they're a fright or fight
animal.
You have fright or fight, but they're fright. They run.
Yeah.
That's how they deal with their problems. So it's like
they're fast too.
They're fast. So it definitely, for Ted, it was just a matter of like responsibility. Like, you had to get out, feed him, make sure he had the water, make sure, he was taken care of when it was cold, that he was staying warm enough, that sort of stuff. It was every day. And eventually he got to a point where he actually couldn't eat hay because his teeth were falling out and he just kind of had like gums. Retirement stuff. And like I had to feed him every morning and every night. So it was, before school, after school, before hockey practice, that sort of stuff. And you had to, so it was just the responsibility and
the rigor of kind of keeping it up.
But like every single day.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that he definitely taught me more of that. And like also like have fun. Like, like you want to go for a run, like go. Like,
Yeah.
just let it rip. And confidence too. We did a couple, with him, I did a race, like a track race.
Okay.
Like, never did that before.
Yeah,
But,
no kidding. That's
just
awesome.
hang on for dear life and go.
When he got around other horses, would he like really? Would he be competitive?
Oh, he was so oh yeah, yeah. He was so antsy. He'd just like, he'd like prance.
Okay.
Yeah, he just like his feet would come up, his tail was up, his head was up, his ears were up. Like, he was just like showing off to everybody. Yeah, he's like, look at me, I'm young and spunky.
Wait, this is your second horse?
No, this is the first one. This is Ted, the old part. Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, so like, oh,
you can get it if you want.
it's Chris.
Go grab it. We'll pause.
Go grab it.
Yeah. We were talking about Ted showing off and things that you learned from owning a horse.
Yeah, that's right.
And how he was wrong about him being young and spunky. Yeah.
Well, only occasionally, whenever there's people to show off to.
Yeah. Of course. Not to you though. He wasn't too worried about showing off to you.
No, not at all. No. You're sweating, aren't you?
Yeah, a little bit. The coffee's warm.
It is. It's nice in here though. It's like, I don't know. It's cozy.
Yeah, but it's just gonna get hotter throughout the day. So.
Oh, that's true.
And then, did Ted pass before you got a second horse, or?
No, I got the second horse. His name is Folly. I was gonna change it, but he kind of knew it, so I was like, yeah, okay. He was also a little older. I got him when he was 11, which is kind of like.
How soon after they're born do they become rideable?
To put it into perspective, race horses, like along the track.
Yeah.
Okay, and like, don't quote me on this. I'm not 100% sure, but
no.
I think they retire from the track after, if they're like 3 years. Like a 3 or 4-year-old racehorse is an old racehorse.
Okay.
Yeah.
But they live 20.
But they live, if you take care of them, they can live like 30, 35.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. Like Ted was probably 31, 32 when he passed.
Okay.
Yeah. We never really knew his age. But you could tell from their teeth. So the veterinarians, they were
pretty certain. He's about this age,
they were
more
close,
or less.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay. So you got Folly when he was 11. So
yeah,
you got much younger than Ted. Like by 10 years.
Yeah. He had quite a bit more spunk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that probably matched your ability as a rider nicely.
Well, and that's why I got him.
Yeah.
Because Ted was getting a little older, and at that time at Pony Club, I was transitioning into learning jumping, and poor Ted with his knees and stuff is just like, it wasn't going with him. It was not a fan. He's an old Western horse, like, and he's like
jumping and his knees shaking and being like, "Oh, again."
Yeah. No, he could do lower stuff, but my skill was surpassing what he was able to do.
Yeah.
So at that point, I was like, okay, if we're going to keep doing this, we need to find a different horse. And we had a friend of a friend who they had Folly sitting in a pasture, used to do jumping. He was an ex-race horse, came off the track, but's been like in pasture and been around cattle and jumping and that sort of stuff for the last probably, well, he was 11, so like 9 years of his life or so. And they just wanted him to go to a good home. So I took him and we started learning jumping again together. He also did a bit of just like dressage work.
How much like is the horse, like if a horse knows how to jump, do they have to kind of like relearn how to jump with a different rider? Does that make sense? Like the pairing of the horse and the rider, how different would that be for a horse? Like could you get on anyone's horse and jump with them, or?
Well, yes, to keep the answer short.
Okay.
But no at the same time.
Okay.
Because like if your horse is exceptionally skilled at jumping, and your rider is not really at the same level of the horse, you will fall behind the horse. And you will like not literally fall behind, maybe. But like
no, you're just saying
you will like you'll be behind the horse the entire
the horse
time.
Will
the
be
horse
in
will
control.
know what they're doing, and they'll just do it, and you're just hanging on. But
that's not a good recipe.
It's not a good recipe because what happens is like the rider can't anticipate things, and then if say the horse jumps, and the rider's not ready for it, the rider will get flung up, and if they hang on, they'll smash down on the horse's back. And it's just uncomfortable for the horse, and like it's not good for them. So that's where it's like, yeah, you could. Is it proper to do that, or is it like good to do that? Probably not.
Yeah.
You know. So that's where Folly and we kind of clashed a little bit, because I was learning how to jump. He kind of knew a little bit, but also was a little bit afraid of it.
Oh, okay.
So we have a couple times where like we'd come up to the jump and he would stop. So like you'd be trotting or loping, and like he would come to a dead stop, and I would be like hanging on and like leaning way forward because my momentum is forward.
Yeah.
And I barely get it. And then he would decide to bunny hop over the fence. And so you're just like, you're just hanging on for dear life. So there was a couple times where it was like, yeah, we had to figure something else out to make it work for us. Because he was not a fan of the higher jumps. He really didn't like it. But the lower stuff we got the hang of.
The breaking to bunny hop combo is pretty...
Oh, man. We have a picture, and it's like, I'm up out of the saddle about half a foot to a foot. My butt's up out of the saddle. My ponytail is straight up. His front legs are straight down. His back legs are tucked way up underneath the jump. And we're like, all of us. His hind legs were probably about 4 feet off the ground, 5 feet off the ground. Yeah. Like, and we're not talking about huge jumps here. We're talking about probably like this table.
A little obstacle. Oh, okay. That's pretty big. Like maybe not in the grand scheme of horse jumping.
But like take this plank. Like, but think of the size of a horse. Like this is his belly height.
Sure.
Like for us to jump over this, sure, it's a hurdle. But for a horse, it's like, meh.
Yeah, that's true.
It's a little bunny hop.
He could step over if he wanted to, you know.
If he really wanted to, yeah. But he can bunny hop over it, and that's been proven.
So my mind goes to, are there similarities to, like, well, you're a pilot for anyone who doesn't know, but are there similarities to horse riding and flying a plane? Like, are there parallels to be drawn there?
Oh boy, I don't know.
Well, one that I think of is like, you know, if you're anxious, if you're angry, if you're stressed.
That's where my mind just went. Yeah. That would be the one. Would be you have to stay calm and collected in any situation. So you're riding along a trail, your horse spooks because there's a bear or a plastic bag. Like, you still have to stay calm and collected.
Yeah. You're
flying, something happens, you're in bad weather, anything like that, you still have to stay calm and collected.
Yeah. But past that, there's not a whole lot of similarities.
I don't think so, no.
Well, I guess rigorous maintenance and making sure that the aircraft and whatnot are kept up to.
I mean, yeah, but like that's not
your job.
That's not my job specifically, right? The maintenance side, the routineness of that is not my job. Luckily and thankfully, we have people for that.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So tell me about, growing up on a farm and having nothing to do with aviation, and then I don't think any of your siblings are into aviation either. No. So then when did that become a part of your life? And
it was kind of, I feel like there was seeds, like a seed planted in my life when I was young, and then totally forgotten about until I got to my grade 12th year. Okay. So until I was 16.
So what seed?
We were in church, and there's just like a mission aviation fellowship pilot that our church supports. And he usually, when you support, for those that don't know, like for that MAF, Mission Aviation Fellowship, it's an organization that goes into all of I don't know the politically correct term, but third world countries.
Okay, sure.
And they essentially bring first aid, missionaries, teachers, doctors, relief support for natural disasters. If politicians need to get to certain places, they do that side of work. Okay. So, and it's an organization that is put on, and the pilots or the teachers or the maintenance engineers, all that sort of stuff, they are all supported by usually churches or other people, friends, families, that sort of stuff. So in a way, it's almost like a volunteer job.
Okay.
But your way is paid because you still like nothing's for free in the world.
Yeah.
So you still need to somehow figure out a way to be able to buy groceries, that sort of stuff. So that way is like paid through multiple churches, friends, family that support you, that all give donations to what you're doing. Like, you know, you're giving humanitarian work, so then they're all kind of.
So did you do any traveling with them?
No,
No,
not
okay.
at all. So like I'm a landlocked person.
Okay.
Like, there's no ocean, there's no sky growing up. Like it was just the farm. But so we had him coming. So what they do is after they come out from the field, they come out every couple of years and they go through and they make their rounds and they say, hey, like this is what I'm doing still. Thank you for your support. If you want to keep supporting.
Oh, so these would have been people who were doing this from your community who were, or at
not
least
even
supported by
necessarily
your
from our
church,
community, but just supported by our church.
coming to say thank you for
Yeah.
the support.
Yeah.
Okay.
And like keep us updated so that, you know, those who are giving funds and financial aid aren't just like, well, what are we giving
Well, no,
you
that
money
makes
for,
that
right?
makes a
They
whole lot of
know what's
sense.
going on.
Yeah.
So anyway, his name was Brent Mutta, and he came to our church and he was like giving a slideshow and like presenting. And I thought to myself at that time, I was like, that's actually really neat. Like you can use airplanes to help people. Like I would have never thought of that.
Yeah.
And I just really liked the idea. And that was it. That's all I thought.
And had you
And-
been on a plane ever?
Never.
Never
been
even
on,
like flown to Ontario or anything?
No, not, I have not been on the ocean. I have not been in the sky. Like I am landlocked. And so, yeah, I just kind of like left at that. I think I was 8 or 9.
I love that because it's simultaneously the perfect backstory for a pilot and then also one that makes no sense whatsoever.
Right? Yeah. And then we continued on through life. And when I started, you know, hockey became much more of a priority for me in my like later teen years.
Mhm.
And I ended up moving away from home to go play hockey and like competitively and try and get to a scholarship or to a university or college, something along those lines.
Where did you move to?
I went to Grand Prairie.
Okay.
It wasn't that far. It's far enough, but not that far.
And who were you living with?
They call them billets, billet
Okay.
family. Yeah.
Okay.
Which is just somebody that is
Hosting.
associated with the team and they take care of you.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, I moved out on my grade 12th year
Mhm.
to go play hockey there. And at the beginning of the grade 12th year, I started like scouts. We had a couple tournaments in Edmonton and some scouts for universities and colleges started asking me like, okay, what do you want to do? Like, you know, kind of get in the feel of like where I would go.
Mhm.
And that was the first time I was ever like, oh, like, okay, I actually am kind of good at this. Like people would put me on their team if I actually like really not really committed because like I moved for hockey. I kind of committed,
Sure.
but like if I really invested in developing my skill even more and not just like playing from whatever I know.
Sure.
And so I was like thinking about it, and I didn't really have an answer for them because I had not thought about after school. Like,
Yeah.
I was like, I'm a here and now thinker. I was not thinking a year in advance.
Feet on the ground, here and now.
Yeah. And the year just kind of continued on throughout the season, and as it kept going, like a couple more scouts asked me, and so then I started looking at like, okay, well, what do like these colleges offer? What do these universities offer? What could I see myself doing? And then I started going to that like, okay, career thing, like mentality, and nothing like seemed super intriguing and like super like, yeah, that's what it is. That's what I want to do.
And meanwhile, what are your brothers doing?
At this time?
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
Or even
were
just
they
like
doing?
roughly like where like
Like
Jesus, I don't, there's so many of them.
There's so many. Now I gotta keep track of them. What were they doing? Thomas, my oldest brother, he I think at that time was kind of a jack of all trades.
Okay.
He was just kind of working wherever he could
Mhm.
a little bit, which often was in the oil field,
Mhm.
working for a friend there. Neil, my second oldest brother, he, I think at that time was getting paramedic.
Okay.
Well, at that time he was married. So he was just kind of trying to figure out a career for him.
Yeah.
That would work also while working on the farm and that sort of stuff. And then Wayne was working in the oil field as a picker truck operator. Yeah. He was either doing that or he was getting his schooling done for a crane.
Okay.
Red Seal for crane. Yeah.
So like trades
sort of stuff.
Yeah.
More so trades for them. And then Stephen, he was in Vancouver getting Bachelor of Fine Arts degree. And Mark was, what was Mark doing? That was grade 12. He would have been, where was he? Can't remember what he was
Just put
doing.
you on the spot of it.
I honestly can't remember.
That's okay. But like everyone had kind of directions that they were going in.
Kind of.
Well,
yeah.
But like all humans, like going somewhere but being like, I don't know.
Yeah. It's kind of tough because like for all my brothers, for them, not all of them, but like for a lot of them at that point of time, like my dad definitely was like, hey, like who wants to farm? Who wants to take over the farm so that we could start setting that stuff up?
Yeah.
Because it's a lot easier to do it sooner than later.
Yeah.
And none of us were really like, yeah, me. Except for, none of us were ready to take over. And none of us, and the farm was not big enough for all, like, 6 of us or 5 of us. Steven's not a farmer. He's allergic to dust and grain and stuff. So he's like, I'm out of it. Like, you guys go for it. I do not want it. But yeah, so they were just like filling time.
Sure.
I guess. And some of that, like Wayne he wanted to do the oil field stuff and get his crane ticket. So he was going there. But yeah, the rest of them were kind of just like doing stuff to fill in.
Okay. So you were exploring your options and kind of coming to the realization that maybe planes were the thing.
Yeah, pretty much. And after I went through a lot of like, I could do like a massage therapist. I wanted to do something still in the field of hockey to try and play hockey still. Okay. And nothing. I was like, man, do I just want to sit inside like on a nice, beautiful day? Do I want to be inside rubbing someone's back? No. So, and then just like, it just kind of came one day. I was like, oh yeah, I could be a pilot. I could fly planes. There's that thing again. And it just was there. And that was the second seed. And then that was it.
All right. So then you're like, all right, I'm going to be a pilot.
Yeah.
So when did you actually get in a plane for the first time?
So after I decided that I was going to be a pilot.
Of course. I feel like this is the most deep thing ever.
Oh, for sure. And we're kind of talking around. There's a company that flies at home.
I also feel like everyone in your life would have been like, oh yeah, she's definitely going to be a pilot now. Like, no.
All of them are like, what? Like, no. Like none of them believe. Like it was a shock for everyone. Okay. Because aviation was nothing in our family, and not in our friend group. Like there was just no connection. There was no connection. The only connection we had to aviation was there was a family in our church he was a pilot, and he married one of like the daughters of a family within the church. Okay. And so that's like the only connection.
It was very tangential.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So what happened is like after I was like, yeah, I think I'll become a pilot. He invited me to come on a flight with him because CanWest is right at our hometown. Yeah. And I was like, yeah, I'd love to go on a flight with you. And that was the first flight I've ever been on. It was on a Cessna Caravan. Oh, and and we went to Fox Lake, it was a medevac flight. So we picked up a patient in Fox Lake, flew him to high level, and then went back. And that was it. And like, after that, I had not been on a plane until I went to school to become a pilot.
And how long was that valley between? Going
yeah. What was it? 1 summer.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That's cool. And so you went on that flight and you were like sold.
But not like sold in a like I love it. It was like this is actually pretty cool. Yeah. It wasn't like some people they're pilots because they just love the feeling of it and they just love aviation. For me, it wasn't like that. I was like, okay, cool. Yeah, this is really neat.
You talked about it as a means to help people, and it was fitting that your first flight was a medevac flight.
Yeah.
And most people's exposure to aviation is like, oh, like we flew to Florida every year with my family or whatever. Yeah. It was always the commercial aviation side. And like when people think of pilots, they're like thinking of walking through airports and spending their time. I don't know. It seems kind of glitzy.
Yeah. That's true. It was not like that for me at all.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so then you went to school and just like dove into
it. And yeah, school was great. I went to Prairie College down in Three Hills. Super great program. All the instructors were fantastic. It was real world experience for us. That program is linked with Mission Aviation Fellowship as well. So all of the instructors that were teaching us, I shouldn't say all of them, most of them that were teaching us came from like Africa, came from Chad, came from Papua New Guinea.
Through the mission.
Yeah. And they needed relief or something. So then they come to Three Hills. They teach for a couple years before they continue on or do something else.
Yeah.
So it was just like, yeah, it was really,
I feel like
really
you
good
had
experience.
Instructors with a broad set of experiences.
Absolutely. Yeah. And now looking back at that and like hearing stories from other pilots of what they had for instructors and stuff, I'm like, wow, I was super fortunate. Like that is rare. You don't get that in flight schools.
Yeah. Mostly it's just someone who wants to
They're building hours. Yeah. So it's they get their instructor rating and they just start building hours. Once they get their other, like, you know, their minimum requirement, like, I don't know, 1,500 or whatever it is, then they go to the airlines and like, that's it. Right.
Yeah. And did you find that, was there like an advantage in terms of your background, in terms of having like driven machinery and whatnot? Like, was that applicable?
I think so. Yeah. A little bit. I wouldn't say a tremendous amount. There's definitely, you know, an aircraft is a machine.
Yeah.
So understanding like the basics of machines and what they need, warm-up times, that sort of stuff. Like it was a lot easier to, I guess, respect an aircraft and kind of take care of it.
Yeah.
Did it make a huge difference in regards to like, say, someone who had absolutely no experience but could learn quickly? I would say no, because they really do teach you from ground zero.
Yeah.
Like I knew nothing.
Yeah.
And it was like, you know, I called, so the runway markers is like, you call it 1-1. So that would be like 110 degrees is 1-1. I called it 11. I was like, what is 11 for? And like this point I like started school. and my classmates are like, what? Like, you don't know? like, yeah, what's 11? Like, it's 1-1 and it's it's the direction of the runway. I was like, oh, I'm an idiot.
Oops.
But anyway, so like I say that story because that's where I started
in
aviation. And so they really do take you from like nothing to being able to fly in a commercial operation. So it's they teach you quite well. And
was it a 4-year program or was it 2 years? Or?
It was 2 years, but it was all year. So
like no summer break.
No summer break. Yeah.
A little bit.
We had you keep moving. I keep going.
Most of my guests don't speak as loud.
Yeah, so we had like the way the program worked, we had 7 weeks of school and then 1 week off.
Oh, okay.
And it just continued that through the whole year. And then Christmas you had like 3 weeks off, 4 weeks off almost. Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah. So all through summer and stuff too.
And then after you graduated, how soon did you come up north?
Pretty quick. I graduated in September. Like that's when I finished everything. And I wanted to go home and help with harvest. So I went home and helped with harvest and like cleaning up fields and that sort of stuff. And during that time, that's where I was job shopping for different, just anywhere I could find that I thought would be suitable enough for me. I've always had a heart for the north and like always had a draw to go further north, to which my sister-in-law was like, really? Why? You already live in the north.
What was it? What was it about going further north?
I don't know. Honestly, I think it was like, you know, the mission side of aviation, like the seeds of MAF that was planted, it does continue to be with me. Like that's not gone.
Sure.
And I think that was kind of the draw more so was like people, you know, like it is this very inaccessible place and it's vast. It's really neat. And it was just along those lines of like, you know, there's things up there people need too. It's like, why not have, you know, like, why not go up there? Like, you don't have to go overseas to Africa to help people.
No.
Like, we still have that need in our own country.
Yeah.
Right? It's just, it's in the north and most people don't know
And that wasn't really that far away for you. Like,
no.
Yeah. So there is a
Well, no,
familiarity.
there
Well,
is
it's far
familiarity,
and it's different, but it's not. I feel like people can be scared about going up north when they come from places that are more established,
definitely.
and
Yeah.
you know what I mean. So,
Yeah.
um, and obviously the north is a place that relies on planes,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
needs people to fly those planes.
Yeah. And
So,
and I think a lot of people don't understand that
yeah,
from the south.
it's kind of surprising.
Yeah.
And even if they like conceptually understand it, they don't really understand what it means. You know what I mean? You're like,
Yeah.
no, everything comes on the plane.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. And for the extent of the year too,
Mhm.
like, like what is it, 8 months of the year? Everything comes on a plane
Yeah,
or a barge if you're on a river.
sure.
If you're on a river,
If you're on a
right?
river, if
Or
you're, yeah,
like on water, which is most communities in the north, but like,
but
like
still,
this year too, like everything is coming on a plane because the barge doesn't come.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, and then you showed up at North-Wright. Tell me about kind of starting out at North-Wright and working the ramp and
Yeah.
that experience.
That was a good experience. I want to say at the worst, best time
Okay,
to come.
perfect.
I
What
got
month?
here November. November 18th, 2018 was when I arrived in Norman Wells, and I started work on November 20th. And I got here. It was dark. I came in off Canadian North. and you know how you like get off Canadian North and you go down the hallway upstairs?
Yeah.
I was like, okay, this is interesting. It was, I was super sad. Like, I left my family, my home, everything I knew, anything I knew, right before Christmas.
Oh yeah.
So it's like, that's why I say it's the worst time.
Yeah.
Because it like, you just miss everybody. Like, it was hard. It was right at the time where it really starts to get dark.
Yeah.
Everything I knew was gone. I'm starting a brand new job.
And how old are you at this point?
I was 20, I think.
Okay.
20 or 19? 19.
Either way,
I just turned 20.
you just turned 20. Either way, like
I was young.
yeah, young, at the precipice of leaving childhood, and like
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And it was really hard. And the entire first week, it was like dark and gloomy and like low clouds. Like, people told me there's the mountains, like the Mackenzie Mountains, and I was like, no.
I don't believe
you. Like, the entire, it's like, I have not seen them yet. There are no mountains here. I'm thinking they're like right there, but they're further out. So it was a tough, like, the first week was hard. I cried a lot. Like,
no, that makes sense.
Job wise, this is where I say it's the best time, because you're so, like, I wanted to do well. So it was like, for job wise, there's a lot to learn at North-Wright when you first start out. Like, I think it's underplayed how much you have to learn and understand to start to like really be good at your job and understand, the systems and like be able to help customers and that sort of stuff. So it was like, you get invested in that. And so I spent a lot of time just at work of like, just like getting to know people and like trying to learn the job, do it well. And that's where I say it's the best time, because you're busy. And then also with like Christmas coming around, that's when everybody kind of comes together here. Like, that, like,
Yeah.
Fall comes around, everybody kind of hibernates and goes their own ways. And then like Christmas comes back and everybody kind of comes back and congregates again for a little bit.
It's been dark enough and cold enough long enough that you're like, I kind of need to see somebody.
Yeah, exactly. And so then everybody's kind of coming together, and we had a really, like, at that time I lived at camp, so there was 12 of us living there. So like the community there, like everybody was coming out, and so it was good because I could invest in like, meeting people and like getting to know people and stuff. It wasn't like it was just you're on your own.
Are there any staff who are still around from when you first started?
Yeah, Raf and Tenu.
Okay, awesome. Yeah. You guys showed up around the same time.
There's a couple other, Simon as well.
Yeah.
But like the maintenance more.
So were you, Raf and Tanu, all in camp at the same time?
Yeah, so Raf and Tanu got here, I want to say I thought they got here in August. Or August or September.
Just slight before you?
Just slightly, a couple months before me. And then I got here in October. And it's like, I respect Raf and Tanu so much because they came from Toronto. Like, come from Toronto to here And like they were city folk.
Oh yeah.
Like it was it was a shock. And they lived in their room for the first 3 months of
Epic.
being here. Like they would come, grab their food, cook their food, go to their room. Like all of us thought they were out after like 6 months.
They showed you.
All of us. And it's what, now almost 6 years?
Yeah.
So yeah, they showed us all. For sure. And like Tanu, man, the stuff that she's learned up here, so proud of her.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So I'd love to have her on the podcast. That'd be great.
Oh, you should, for sure. Yeah.
So tell me what makes your job up here meaningful to you?
Oh boy, that's a big question.
Yeah.
There's many aspects to it. And it's, well, yeah, so I guess just for the job, it would be, well, I enjoy flying. I really like flying. I enjoy the freedom of flying up in the north. It's you're not going, depends what you're doing, I guess. Our operation has 2 different sides of the operation. We have the bush side, and then we have the scheduled side. So it really depends what you're doing. On the scheduled side of stuff, wintertime keeps us busy. But what I enjoy about that is that aspect of we are transferring people that need to go to a hospital. We are transferring people that need to go to dentists. We're transferring people that need to get out, to see the world, get some sunshine.
You're truly serving the community.
It's serving the community, right?
Yeah.
And being able to like provide a really good service and, do your best. A lot of people up here don't like flying. Like, there's accidents happen. It in some cases it's going to happen to everybody at some point. It's a matter of kind of like when and how bad. And there has been accidents in the past, and that like it puts a fear in people.
Sure.
Rightly so.
Yeah.
And, so if you're able to take an aircraft and make those people who are afraid of it and to get them to feel comfortable with it, and they give you that response back of like, they want you as their pilot because they know that it's a really good, like, okay, I've done a good job here. That sort of a thing.
There's direct feedback.
Yeah. And it's very personal. Like the people that we fly, sometimes you see them every day of the week as you're flying, like that sort of stuff. Like that, I really do enjoy that side of it, especially.
And that's something that you wouldn't
side.
get with a larger airline.
No.
It's way more anonymous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You wouldn't get that at all. When you can, you doing a passenger safety briefing and you can joke with the passengers or you can call them by their first name and that sort of stuff. There's something special about that.
Sure.
So I do really like that part. That's the sked stuff. That's what makes that like really click for me and why I enjoy that. Going to the bush side of it, that's where it's like the freedom of flying. And that's more and like the beauty of the territories and like the capabilities of aircraft and what you can do with them. I always say to my friends who hike mountains, I'm like, yeah, I don't like hiking. Like I don't, because I get to see that view every single day from a top of a peak.
Yeah.
Like I don't have to hike a mountain to it. I get to sit in a plane, be lazy with like little effort.
With all the power
some days
behind
very
you.
little effort with a lot of power behind me, and I just get to see the views, you know, and that's fun. And there's a little bit to that aspect of the bush side where it's like you are bringing people on like a hunt that they've been saving for their whole life.
Yeah.
Or a canoe trip that, just recently I actually had my friend come up with her family to canoe the mountain river.
Okay.
And it was like, I've been trying to convince her for like the last 4 years to come up and do the mountain. But it was just like to hear their stories afters and like the mountains and the beauty and the color of it. It's just the experience of it, and like being able to give that to them and be able to fly them safely to those locations that they want to go to is, there's something neat about it. It's not the original reason of why I became a pilot, but there's a draw of like, this is the fun side.
It's cool to facilitate.
It's really cool to be a part of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And why have you stuck around for so long? I've been here for 3 years now, and the turnover is wild. People come and go so quickly.
Yeah.
And I love the people that stay, and there's a reason that they stay. And what is that for you?
The people.
The people.
Which is kind of funny because you just said, I love the people that stay. And it's a reason they stay, but there's also a lot of turnover.
Yeah. Well, and the people that come and go, there's reason to love them too.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, I met my husband up here,
Mhm.
which everybody who knows me knows that. But like that was obviously a huge incentive to stay.
Sure.
He's not from up here, so why we together stay? Number one is the people. We love it. Like the friends that you make up here become like family, and that doesn't, you can't get that down south. I find you can get it a little further south, like, you know, which is still considered northern Canada, but not the same.
Yeah, I find if you're in a remote place and there are people who, well, especially in the portion of the community in the north where people that don't have family here,
yeah,
you rely on each other.
You do, like,
in that way.
You can't. It's really hard to do life by yourself up here. Like it, and I think that's why some people come for 6 months and then they leave, because they try to do it by themselves. You like, it's a community.
Well, if you don't invest enough in the community, it's impossible.
Yeah, like you have to. It's like for survival.
Yeah, totally.
But yeah, so that would be number one reason, would be the community. Number two is like, there's opportunities up here everywhere you look. Like, look at yourself, for example, like Breaking Ice podcast.
There's Breaking Ice production and the
Breaking
podcast.
Ice production. Like, you saw opportunity for podcasts. You're like, cool, let's do some podcasts. No one else is doing it. But first you saw an opportunity to use your photography skills to get in with, North-Wright, and
or just serve
start
the community,
your company and serve the community, and look at where you are now.
Totally.
Like,
no, it's amazing.
Like, there's opportunity everywhere, and I think it'd be a shame for us to just, in the time that we're here, to turn a blind eye to that and not recognize that as one of the reasons of staying.
Yeah.
As well. But yeah, the primary would be like the people that we've met, the friends that we've made. You can say, like, this morning you called me at 9:30. It was like, hey, you want to come on a podcast? It's like, cool, I'll be there in 10 minutes, right? Like that sort of stuff, that life of last minute of like, invite anyone, come on over. The other night we had people over for dinner, and it's just, it's very relaxed. It's very calm. It's a community of people that come together and spend good times together, spend bad times together. It's just, that's really what makes us stay.
Well, I love one of the things that I love about up here is a lot of the people that I meet, people who live here, people that were born here, who are inspired. Everyone's ambitious.
Yeah.
And I find that it draws people who have ambition, because to make it here requires sacrifice.
Definitely.
And if you're not willing to make that sacrifice, you kind of get weeded out.
Yeah.
On your own. To yourself. You know what I mean?
Yeah. You definitely want to be. You need to want to be here too.
Totally.
To really make it a good life of like where you're thriving, where you have a good life, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a beautiful place. Do you have what are your favorite things to do in Norman Wells? Other than flying the really cool planes that you fly.
Favorite things? Yeah, they're pretty cool. Well, I would say top. It kind of changes winter and summer. Right?
Sure.
There's favorite things in winter,
yeah.
favorite things in summer.
Well, it's two different worlds.
It is. Top thing would be like just having people over. Chris and I both love to host and like just provide a space where people can feel comfortable. So that would be the top thing, would be, like have people over. Like, let's just hang out. Let's chat. Let's, play Can Jam. Let's do whatever. Let's go on the boat. That's fun, boating on the river. Wintertime, going skidooing, trying to, find the mountains. That's starting to dwindle for me a little bit, like the skidooing side of things. It was huge like the last 3, 4, or 5 years for me. I think just with like, as you grow, your priorities kind of change a little bit, and there needs to be a purpose for me to go skidooing now. It's
sure.
Like I've seen the area.
Yeah.
I know it. It's like, are we going like Are we going to try and go hunting? Then yes, I'm absolutely 100% down to go. Are we?
But if you're
are we just going to like go? I'm like, yeah, like
I'll stay home.
I'll stay home. But yeah, like the summertime would be just have people over, and wintertime would be. It would be along the same lines, people over and dinners and stuff. Those would be my top, like, absolutely my favorite parts of
that makes sense.
This area. Yeah,
it's pretty awesome. Yeah, well,
baseball's pretty fun too.
Baseball is pretty fun.
It's pretty fun. I really do enjoy it. But that's still the like bringing people together,
for sure,
right? That's the fundamental.
What I love about baseball is that, well, it's by far the sport that the most people play here. I think. Yeah,
I would say. Yeah, you get most. You
get the biggest spread of the population that plays baseball. Yeah. And then, people play hockey, and you get people from all over that play hockey, but it's
a little smaller group.
It's a way smaller group. And if you play, like, there's 5 teams, so you get people from all these different companies and whatnot. And it's really fun. It's a really good time. Is fun. And it's like everything is just so community oriented, and that's what keeps me here. It's the community. Oh my God, by far. Well, you and Chris are, I think, stand-up people, and 2 people that would, if your absence here, would be noticed heavily. And we really appreciate all the effort you guys do. Like you will go out of your way to like shovel the lake and make a rink that gets used. Probably not enough for how much work you put into it.
No, not at all.
but the times that people do skate on it and the joy that brings is appreciated.
Yeah. No, and that's, I don't know. I like that, right?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
I like to do that. That's the stuff I like to do. We skated on it twice: Christmas Day or Christmas Eve, and New Year's Day.
What, did you skate it on in the
weeks. Spring? Like a couple times, but it melted too fast.
The fun was in the journey. Yeah. It was the seaweed on DOT that really screwed it up.
It really did. The sun just like grabbed that and melted holes. Yeah.
No, but they built a Zamboni and everything. It was awesome.
You gotta take care of the kids at DOT. They need an ice rink to go on.
Absolutely. Well,
kids as in like adults too.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
We're all kids.
Anyone under 5, whatever. Well, thanks for coming on. It was a pleasure to talk to you, and maybe we'll do it again sometime.
Yeah.
Awesome.